I was arrested after my girlfriend's son created false allegations against me, but now that I've been released and my name has been cleared, she expects me to forgive her so life can go back to normal. I know that's a hell of a title, but it's been a hell of a situation and I could do with some advice. Basically, we have or had been together over a year and a half and we were going great. She has a son from a previous relationship, who I've not only met but was fond of. I wouldn't say stepdad material by any means, but we had a little friendship going. The dad's in and out of prison in the kid's life, so I'm the only guy like that he's had in his life that fulfills any real decent male role model figure. Me and her were even talking about living together too. A few weeks ago, I get a visit from the police and they arrest me for SA to her son. I've been bailed on condition I wouldn't go near them, and as a result I've been placed on gardening leave at work. Last week, I got a letter saying the case had been dropped and I don't any longer have to attend my next bail hearing. That was it. I rang the policeman in charge of the investigation, and at the time he said he couldn't comment too much as there was still an active investigation, but basically her son confessed he had it up and I'm innocent. To say I was mad, shocked, confused was an understatement. Basically a couple of days later, Eld had one drink too much and rang her to confront her. She answered, all apologetic, and explained that this little devil nephew of hers, 12 meters, I've always hated this kid when I've met him, he's so disrespectful and always getting into trouble at school and into fights etc. Did it to her son at this party they went to a few days before I was arrested. When her son confessed someone had violated him, he panicked and said it was me instead of his cousin. I guess him being questioned by the police scared him, so he had told the truth. I was so disgusted and just hung up on her, deleted my social media too so I don't have to have anything to do with them. She's been ringing me since, texting me, emailing me, and is collectively saying even though she's so sorry that she put me through all this, she can't be too sorry as her wanted to protect her son, but she really wants us to get back to where we were again. Apparently her son misses me too and has been crying saying he's hurt me. She said this can make us stronger and we can have a good future. I've not answered at all, I've got nothing to say. I'm thinking of ghosting her. I can't lie and say I don't have love for her or her son, but if I'm honest I'm way too hurt. I'd always know she once thought I did something so unspeakable to her son, and Lil also never be able to forget that his lies, no matter the reason, could have wrecked my life. And Eld never want the risk of running into her nephew again, I never ever want anything to do with him again. What should I do? Relevant comments. Comment 1. Her son was actually violated. She could probably see on him the upset that much was true. She probably did have doubt it was you, but she did the right thing by letting the police handle it. If you want to come back from this you can, couples counseling, or at least take it slow for a while. But it's okay if you don't want to. But do have a bit of compassion. Her son experienced SA and was scared. He didn't make it up out of spite, but knew panic knowing blaming a family member would cause all kinds of problems. Maybe go and meet them once or write the kid a letter. What I'm thinking here is that on top of everything the kid is going to have guilt about splitting you guys up. Tell him you're sorry about what happened to him and you know he was scared. That you don't blame him for what's happened, but that you need a fresh start. Response. I get where you're coming from with showing compassion, I really do, but at the same time, think about what's happened to me. Police came into my office, arrested me, handcuffed me and led me out in front of my colleagues and forced me into a police car. I spent 12 hours in a police cell, interviewed multiple times and bailed on the proviso I don't contact her or her son. I get put on garden leave at work with the likelihood I get sacked for damaging the company reputation and will likely struggle to get a job in my field again. My colleague has also started taking me off social media and ghosting me. Comment 2. I don't think it's very kind to ghost them. The kid is 7 and traumatized. You should at least forgive him. You seem angry at him for lying, but he's just a child. You can't hold him to the same standard as an adult. You don't have to be with this woman or that family, but please at least make sure the kid is okay. Keep enough contact to make amends with him, for his sake. Response. Yeah, but it's not just a case of him lying, is it? I'm likely losing my job and career in my field and as a result my home, lifestyle and livelihood. I've lost friends and I'm having panic attacks, and hardly sleep anymore. And I've lost a great relationship with the woman I could have happily married. All because he lied about me. Even if I could forgive him, and I'm not saying I could never forget it. Comment 3. I was going to write this also. I sympathize at how this has affected your life. It is not a situation anyone innocent would want to find themselves, and I'm so glad for you that he told the truth quite quickly afterward. However, please be aware, this little guy with whom you began building a genuine and healthy relationship with, went through an experience that traumatizes to the core of them. And then, faced with immense pressure, he panicked and named you. If you walk away from this little guy, with no words, no forgiveness, this will become a defining moment in his developmental mental health, and affect not only his relationships moving forward, but possibly his ability to function if the guilt and shame grow. You don't need to minimize the impact it has had on you, and I truly hope that you move through it with minimum effects, but please give this little guy peace of mind and closure, so that his mistake does not end up defining the next part of his young life. If you did truly care for him, then in that case comes the responsibility to do what is right, even if you are in a world of pain. And if you decide that it has affected you too much to try revisit the relationship, then many would understand and agree with you. But to play devil's advocate, the emotions you feel right now are most likely in response to the hurt and indignity of such an accusation, but can be worked through to a point where once they subside a bit and you look at the situation more objectively, then you may be able to see that the relationship with this woman and her child can be salvaged and rebuilt, and will indeed be stronger, and though not ideal to have experienced, does not need to be executed. Stepping back, this was a child who was hurt, and handled crisis with a child's logic and panic, and his mother who needed to protect him in the only way she knew how. How else could she respond? Those kids who are disbelieved of their abuse, and the parent continues to ignore and be with the other adult is true horror. To me, outside of the situation, this is what trauma looks like, messy and painful. Whatever you choose, forgive the little man, and give his broken and tormented heart and mind some peace. Response: I have been wanting to reply to your post meaningfully for hours because you said things in a good way, without calling me a monster or a horrible person like a lot of others started to, but I had a lot to drink when I first saw it. I thought I'd get some sleep, sober up and come back to it with a clearer head. This comment is what's cutting me very deeply at the moment. You see, I sadly can't have biological kids of my own, so I'd resign myself to the fact I'd never have a deep and meaningful relationship with a child. But then he and his mum came along and I started to really bond with him, and he me. I wasn't his stepfather by any means, but I did really feel good things towards him and would have gladly took that role on. But then this has happened and it's cut me to the core honestly. Honestly, it's affected me just as badly as the professional aspect has. A lot of people have said that he lacks the intellectual capacity for reason that an adult has, and I get that in my rational brain, but my emotional side isn't quite so quick to forgive yet. As many times as I say to myself I would be open to make contact and say I forgive him, the anger and resentment of what's happened to me with my arrest, health issues, relationship fading away, and what's going to happen to me as far as my career and my money in the future stops me from being able to do it in an honest way. I don't think I could even lie and do it at this stage. I know I just wouldn't be able to. I can't say I'll always be this way, maybe some months or years down the line I could, but I'm not able to at this moment. Other people who have commented on here have said I need to do it ASAP as it'll affect his development, but they're not the ones in this situation. And again, I get how she responded in my rational, sober mind, but the emotional hurt make me say regardless, her actions ruined my life. I think I could only forgive the kid when I find some peace myself. Yes, someone's pointed out I have a fully developed, nearly 40-year-old mind, but what's happened to me will affect me for the rest of my life. If I ever get into a relationship again, I wouldn't want to get with someone with kids anymore because I wouldn't be able to trust them. Update 1. Hi all, I'm in England. So basically, I was recently arrested for being accused of SA. Subsequently, all charges against me have been dropped when I received a letter from the police confirming charges have been dropped and I don't have to go back for any bail hearings. As I have discovered unofficially since, her son admitted it was another family member who assaulted him. At the start, when I was first arrested, I was put on gardening leave at work. I've been there just over 5 years. Once I received the letter, I gave it to my employer and my boss has scheduled a meeting for this Monday with him, regional managers and HR to determine if I still have a job. Basically, their argument is that even though I am no longer facing any charges, my accusation and leave had leaked out online and they say that it may hurt their reputation having me as an employee and I no longer have the support of my colleagues, which they need to consider if it's going to affect the business long term. As it is, several colleagues have removed me from social media. In recent days I've come off anyway, but this was before, and have been ghosting me socially. Do I have any recourse? I really don't want to lose my job. My money's really good and I have a lot of perks, company car, phone allowance, etc. And not only that, I've worked really hard to get where I am. If I lose my job, there's a really good chance eventually I wouldn't be able to afford my mortgage and I'd have to sell my house. If I do lose my job, I have no idea what sort of reference I'll get and would hate to have to start again from scratch elsewhere or in a job in minimum wage. What can I do? Update 2. I want to thank you all your advice, well wishes and criticism. This is an update on 2 fronts. Firstly, I met up with my girlfriend. She rang me and I answered and asked if we could meet Sunday night. Normally I'd not answer, but because she had it from a withheld number and I was pissed, I said yeah, alright. When she came around, I was all set to be guns blazing and tell her to piss off. But when I saw her, I felt all emotional and broke down. She did too. We hugged really well, and she kept on saying how awful I looked and how much weight I'd lost. She apologized and kept apologizing profusely. She said she had to report me on the basis that her son looked so in distress and she couldn't not report it as a mother. But she said she in hindsight knew I wouldn't be capable of what he said I did, and she hasn't been sleeping or thinking straight of what I could be going through. Apparently once her so admitted to the police it wasn't me and it was his cousin. The police got a confession out of her nephew and he said he was violated himself, so he was only doing what happened to him. I couldn't try and be all nice and understanding, and I said I couldn't give a damn. She seemed quite stunned by this, but as she could see I was really distressed, she didn't argue the point. Basically she said she wanted to know where we go from here and that she loved me so much and that she wanted to know if I could move on from it. She also had a letter from her son. Basically he's been really poorly and he was so upset about what he said I did and asked if I'd read it. I don't know what happened at this point, but I got really angry. I said I couldn't read his letter. She got all pissed and said that he's only a kid, and he's been struggling so much. Did our little relationship mean so little to me? I felt so blindsided, and said that it wasn't my fault he accused me of being a predator. After a lot of arguing, raised voices and hurt feelings, I said I'd take the letter but couldn't promise I'd want to reply. I mean, his accusation is going to likely ruin my career. She said she was done at this point, but stressed how much she loved me and asked if I could ever forgive them. I said I couldn't promise. She also felt awful that I was likely losing my job the next day. We hugged it out, kissed and left it there. On the subject of my work, it's bittersweet. I arrived there for my meeting and briefly seeing my colleagues, they were treating me like crap. One woman who's been like my work mom and mentor, was looking down her nose instantly. I tried to talk to her and she just walked off mid-conversation. Several others were all looking at me as if I'm the worst human being ever. When I got into the meeting, it looked as if I was just going to be sacked and that was it. But I'm a pretty good negotiator, and I managed to beat them back to being not to blame at all. Basically, we argue a deal where I resign, but they agree to give me a great reference. They also pay me in full for September, October, and give me a £1,000 car bonus so I can buy myself a car. I'm due to go in and formally accept this Thursday. It's horrible because I've had to resign after 5 years of hard work and training, and cut ties with a place where I really gave it my all and I felt like I had a future. All because I've done nothing wrong. Update 3. So in response to my last post, I basically decided I wasn't going to take it lying down and accept their proposal. I messaged my MD ahead of time and told him I thought he should be there in the meeting. Me and him always got on well. Long story short, I told him I was taking legal advice and was looking at my local employment law specialist, and he claimed the regional bosses and HR kept him in the dark. Funny that, isn't it? And he said he was going to be in the meeting. When we got there, he was extremely apologetic and said he was going to deal with them personally. They all looked really sheepish. Basically, we worked out a deal. As a settlement, a full 5 months salary on top of my current month, £3,000 car settlement and my usual 5% bonus of my salary. And they'll write me a glowing personal reference. Honestly, I was going to look into prosecuting them, but I just want it to be over so I'll accept it. Hopefully I can move on professionally. On the subject of my now ex, I decided to read the little boy's letter. It was more of a note, but it basically said, "Dear me. I'm sorry, I love you. You're my best friend," or something like that. If I was a cold person, I'd not feel bad. I'm not at all, and I hadn't drunk for a couple of days. So I sent him a note in the post too. Basically, I said in it I was sorry for what happened to him and I hope he could forgive himself in time. And also, I hoped life would be kind to him. I also rang my now ex and said I wanted a clean break and I was ending it. She was really crying and said she was sorry. I said I forgave her and acknowledged she did what she had to do. She said she truly loved me and would have carried on with me if I wanted to. I ended it there. My cousin, who I looked at staying with, is on holiday, so I have booked 3 weeks holiday in Inverness from Monday and I'm going camping. Hopefully, I can make a clean break. Update 4. I was going to just block her and go away, but a commenter on my last post said she may misconstrue that my taking time away meant only a temporary break from her and I was leaving the door open to reconcile, which I didn't want to do. Despite all what went on, I still care for her and didn't want her to suffer. I went around her house to tell her in person. I basically said I needed to end it and cut all contact indefinitely because of all that's gone on, and that I could forgive them but never forget what they did. She apologized again and said she still loves me, and did I love them? I said no, and she went hysterical, so I left. I blocked her on everything, deleted my social media and went on my holiday to Scotland. I was only supposed to be there for 3 weeks but I stayed nearly 4 and only got back yesterday. My friend who knows us spoke to me today and said my ex has been crap talking about me, saying on her Facebook especially that I've abandoned her and her son, etc. I don't care, I'm looking to move anyway and start afresh, so I don't care at this stage. Thanks for all the advice along the way.